If you've had that nagging feeling that something big is coming, you're not alone. You don't have to be a doomsday prepper to feel the urgency today. Let me show you what preppers are grabbing now. Hey guys, it's Gerald with Wicked Prepared. Welcome to the channel. Today I'm sharing a prepper pantry haul. More people than ever are preparing today, and that's a good thing. We've seen over and over the need to be prepared for anything. Prepared with food and supplies to shelter in place when we can't access the stores or the shelves are empty. Prepared to evacuate at a moment's notice if necessary. Prepared with a plan and a place to shelter from a deadly storm. Prepared with food and funds to survive a job loss or an economic downturn. A growing number of people have realized how important this is, but far too many are still or underprepared. If you think it's too late to start, you're wrong. It's never too late to start and move at a pace that you can afford. In this world, we really can't afford not to prepare. Today, I'm sharing a snapshot of what I've added to my preps and prepper pantry this week. Hopefully, this can give you a little inspiration, a few tips, and maybe you'll see something you never thought of or never saw before. Let's get started. These are something new that I found. These are Knorr, but they are cups. I have never seen these before, so I don't know if they are brand new or they're just not something in my area. I did order these. So they've got spicy Korean style barbecue. This is noodles, chicken, fried rice flavored, pad thai, which is noodles, and then they have a teriyaki noodles. Now I know we've gotten the packets of Knorr teriyaki noodles, and we've gotten the packets, I think, of chicken fried rice, and we like those. So I'm thinking, now these do have microwave instructions. They tell you how to prepare them in the microwave, but it's only 2 minutes in the microwave, so I am sure that these will work. Just pouring in boiling water, which makes them a good preparedness meal, and it also makes them really good for single people who have one person who eats differently than the rest of the people in their house. So I'm really excited to try these and see how they are, because they sound good and they are something different and interesting. Next, I've got this, and this is a sourdough starter jar. Now, you certainly don't need a special jar to do sourdough. I got one of these from my daughter for a gift at Christmas time. She was just getting into sourdough, and I am not doing sourdough right now because she is a mad sourdough woman and she is doing plenty for all of us. And I just don't really have time for it right now, but I grabbed this because it was on sale for a good deal. I'm not sure if it's still on sale, but I will put all of my links down below so that you can always check and see if the sale's still going on. So it was a really good deal, so I figured I'd grab one and either save it for a gift or possibly use it myself. You can just use a regular mason jar or something for sourdough, but this has some cool features, especially to someone who's new to sourdough. It has a little thermometer that comes with it that will tell you, if your temperature around in the surrounding area is optimal for growing your sourdough starter. It has a lid that's the right type of lid for the sourdough. It has a little band that has multiple purposes. You can use it to measure like how much your sourdough is growing, and also to measure or to mark which time you fed it last. You can actually write the name on it. That's super cute. Last fed on, where you can write that, different markings and measurements. So this was something I just wanted to have on hand. Like I said, maybe I'll use it myself someday, or maybe I'll use it for a gift. But sourdough is a really important skill for preppers because it basically is making bread without needing yeast. And yeast is something that's a little bit more difficult to store. It stores really well in the freezer, but of course, in a grid down emergency, you probably won't have a freezer. So it's a good skill to have. There's a few other tools in here as well, a scraper to scrape the starter out of the jar and a brush for cleaning. I also grabbed these two little sauce to go things. They're just empty bottles. They have a carabiner clip and they're two different sizes. This is a 1 ounce and there's a 1.69 ounce one. So this is more for just everyday preparedness or travel preparedness. If there's a sauce or something that you really want to have when you're traveling or have in your vehicle, something that you really like to have on your food, this could be an EDC item. Next, I got 2 of these powdered sugar keepers. I have one of these I've had for many, many years. It's an older version, and I just recently saw that the newer version comes with a little scoop that has a sprinkler for sprinkling the powdered sugar. So it clips off of the lid, and you would scoop up the powdered sugar and close this over it, and then, tap or shake to sift the powdered sugar onto whatever you wanted. What I remember from being a kid is I remember we would have waffles all the time, and we would put butter and powdered sugar on our waffles, and that was delicious. I honestly haven't figured out what this little well is over here. I'm assuming it's just a measuring well, like maybe a teaspoon. It's not marked. This little bar fits into the canister right here to give you a flat edge. So when you are scooping and measuring, you can scrape your measuring cup right across this as it's showing here, and that will help to level out your measure. That stores right back in there, and that piece is going to store in here as well. I thought that was kind of silly, and I wasn't going to store this back on the lid until I realized that the lid will not close with this in here. And if they put it down any further to let the lid close, then it would be down too low to be really functional. This has an airtight gasket seal, and it also has a clasp that clasps it sealed. This was the old one that I had, and you can tell I've had it for a very long time. The difference in this one is it does have a leveler in there, but it does not have the little spoon. It just has a sifting top that opens up. But I really like the idea of the little scoop. I did cheap out on these, and there was a nicer version that had a metal scoop instead of a plastic scoop, I believe. And it looked kind of nicer, but it was quite a bit more expensive. This one was really inexpensive. So I went with this one. I'll probably try out the sprinkler scoop and see what I think of it and decide if I'm going to swap it for the other one. The reason I got two is I thought it would be handy to have one for cocoa powder as well. Cocoa powder and powdered sugar are both things that I store in my prepper pantry. And this is just because I do use those things. I do rotate through those things. So I need to have a container in the pantry for the one that I'm working with. Back here, of course, I have a couple cases of canning jars. These are wide mouth quarts. Canning jars are so useful for preppers. I use these. The wide mouth quart is the size I use most often for my meals in a jar. These are dry ingredient freeze-dried meals in a jar, so they don't require any pressure canning. They're something anyone can do. If you're not familiar with those, I have a whole playlist of them that I will link down below. But canning jars are also good to have for traditional canning, which is a really good skill that I feel like every prepper should have. And they're also good for dry goods storage because they're very airtight, so you can store rice, flour, all sorts of things in mason jars. I also got these little 2-ounce cups of Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce. I use these a lot in my meals in a bag, which is similar to the meals in a jar, but it's all shelf-stable ingredients, canned, boxed, things like that. They go into a bag. You grab a bag off the shelf. It's got everything you need to make a meal. So if you need a small amount of barbecue sauce or any other condiment for a recipe, these are great. And single-serve containers can be really good for prepping as well because you probably may not have refrigeration and not be able to refrigerate the remainder of a bottle of your condiments. Next, I got these packets. These are the pre-cooked rice packets. There is rice in here that's already cooked. It just needs to be heated. These are meant for the microwave, but you can open them up and put them in a pan to heat them, or you can use them in a recipe. I've done that before. This is a new flavor. This is Mexican street corn white rice. I thought this sounded really good. And because it was something new, it was something that I wanted to try. I've never seen these before, so I got a case of them. I typically wouldn't buy a case of something. In this case, the case is only maybe 6 or so pouches. I wouldn't normally buy something in bulk that I hadn't tried, but sometimes if you have to order something online, sometimes a single pouch or a single can cost almost as much as the whole case because of the way that the pricing is. So in this case, I took a gamble. If we don't like it, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to find somebody who does or use it in a recipe and transform it into something we like. I also found this brand, which is kind of something similar. This is a Mexican style rice and street corn seasoned basmati rice, just a different brand, same idea. This is only a 4-pack. So I'm going to try these. These will be a great side dish. If you were in an emergency, you could turn it pretty easily into a full meal by adding some canned or freeze-dried meats and just heating it all up. Next, I got these cilantro sprout seeds. So basically just cilantro seeds that are packaged up for sprouting. And my idea with this is sprouting is a good tool for preppers to have up their sleeves, because if you are stuck in a situation where you're living off of your prepper pantry, there's not going to be a lot of fresh stuff, especially if you live in a climate where you can't grow year round and it's not the middle of the summer. So sprouting is something that I think everyone should kind of have in their back pocket. But with cilantro specifically, I've never tried cilantro sprouts. The cilantro seeds have a sort of a husk around them. So I might be more difficult to sprout these. Some people will say it's a little more difficult, but we've grown cilantro in the garden and sprouted it that way. So I think it'll be okay. But with cilantro, it has a very distinct flavor. And you know how it is. You either love it or you hate it. And I love it. And that flavor does not translate into shelf stable versions when you've had dehydrated, dried, or even freeze dried, which usually maintains the quality of the fresh product. It just doesn't carry over with cilantro. So I thought that for emergency situations when I can't go buy fresh cilantro at the store or grow it in the garden, which for us is a very limited amount of time, that maybe cilantro sprouts would offer that same flavor. I know I've had radish sprouts that had a radishy flavor, so I'm really hoping that this will work and give me an option for that fresh cilantro flavor that only takes a few days to do and can be done at home. But we'll see how that turns out. Next, I got these couple new Hidden Valley Ranch flavors. I think they're new. I've never seen them before. Just like with everything else, maybe it just hasn't been on my radar, but there is a cilantro lime ranch, which I'm really excited about. I love that flavor. And there is a sweet barbecue ranch, which I think is going to be really good on a lot of salads and dishes and things this summer. I like to have a lot of different condiments and things in my pantry so that we have a lot of different variety and options for meals and seasonings. Next, I've got my freeze-dried groceries back here. Freeze-dried food is the gold standard for the Prepper Pantry because it checks all the boxes. It's got the longest shelf life, it's got the highest nutrition levels, and it's got the best quality for taste and texture, especially for people who, let's say, maybe aren't real keen on the taste and texture of regular canned food. It is super light, so it's great for like backpacking, RVing, traveling, putting together grab and go kits for when you need to evacuate and you want to take some food with you. And it's also becoming a lot more common as everyday food. It used to be you mostly saw it in just like breakfast cereals and stuff, and it was thought of as astronaut food. Now, so many more people have learned about the benefits, and people are buying freeze-dried foods, or they're buying freeze dryers, or both quite often. Aside from the 25-year shelf life of the cans, it's also shelf stable for about a year after it's open. So it's been helping a lot of people to really cut down on waste in their kitchen, especially like single people or empty nesters or those people who are on the go all the time. So they're not always home to eat up the fresh foods that they keep in their refrigerator or their fruit bowl. The amount of food waste that Americans throw away daily is staggering. You would be shocked. But nowadays, more and more people are figuring it out. They're figuring out how to cut down on that and work their freeze-dried foods into their daily food rotation so they can stock up on the good stuff without having to have two separate budgets and without having to worry about anything going to waste. People are moving away from those buckets and totes of meals that they just stash away and hope they never have to eat. They're moving towards building a stash of real food that they can enjoy eating every day that just happens to have a really long shelf life. People are using it not only for emergencies and every day, but also as part of their retirement plan so that they have food set aside when their budget drops. Our first choice for freeze-dried food is Thrive Life because they're known for their high quality standards and their clean single ingredient foods. And they're also known for having great sales. So with a little bit of planning and smart shopping, you can actually get the good stuff for the prices of those bargain basement brands. It's kind of like getting Whole Foods groceries at Walmart prices. So what I got this month is right here. I got peas, and there's actually 2 rows of cans. So there's a second row behind there. And the reason I got so many peas is, first of all, it's a common like multi-purpose ingredient that we can use in lots of different ways. We can put this into recipes, stews, casseroles, but we can also use it as a side dish. It's good snacking on dry right out of the can. It goes really well in snack mixes. You can sprinkle seasoning on it or mist it with a little bit of avocado oil and some seasoning. Lots of different things that we can do with the peas. But it is also the highest discounted item this month. And they just introduced a new bulk discount program that gives an extra 5% off if you buy 6 or more of any one item. So that's why I grabbed 6 of this, because highest discount, add the extra 5% off, that's the time to buy. If you want to keep up on the sales and discounts, I have an alert service. So just text alert to my number that I'm going to put on the screen right here. I'll send you a quick text every time there's a price drop or a discount code. Besides the peas, I got cans of grilled chicken and Hamburg and shredded cheddar cheese. These are all also on sale this month. Meats are the most sought after item by preppers, far and away. And then the cheese is something that I really love because it is amazing. It's real cheese. It's real cheddar cheese. And how else would you have that shelf stable in your prepper pantry? You would have to have Velveeta or cheese powder or something like that, macaroni and cheese. This is a whole different ball game. I also got some more of the instant milk because it is 50% off. And instant milk is a must-have for every prepper pantry. It has so many uses. I did a video where I made all sorts of different things with instant milk, and it was awesome. So I'm going to link that video for you at the end of this video. But milk is just needed for so many different things that I don't think you can ever have too much instant milk in your pantry. I got a large can and a small can. I try to throw some in my order whenever I think about it if it's 50% off. Now, the difference between the two can sizes, the big ones are about a gallon size. These small ones are about a quart size. And there's about 3 times, a little more than 3 times more product in the large cans, but they're usually a better deal, you know, when you look at unit pricing. But I do like to have the smaller cans on hand for things like camping trips, things like giving to somebody, you know, if somebody just needs a little bit of help, or one of my kids that's on their own. And it would be a great barter item as well. If you've never tried Thrive Life or freeze-dried food at all before, I challenge you to give it a try and see what I'm talking about. I have a one-time coupon code that I can send you if you've never tried Thrive Life before. Just text NEW to my number and I will send it over to you. If you're a current customer, don't worry about it. I am going to hook you up as well. I'm working on another coupon code for you. So text coupon to that same number and I'll send you a code in the next few days. So lots of savings to be had. Don't miss out. I'm going to put a link down below where you can go and create a free account if you don't have one already. It only needs your email and you'll be all set up to get the biggest discounts. If you need some tips and ideas on how to cook with freeze-dried foods and how to use them, how to incorporate them into your cooking and into your eating, we have a brand new group with fun, free cooking demonstrations, and we would love to have you join that community. So I'll put that link down below as well. Now onto this stuff over here, some traditional canned food, which is also a pretty large part of our prepper pantry. Canned foods really come in 2 different types. You've got single ingredients and you've got meals, things that are put together. So here I've got a couple cans of this great value. This is, I think, like a chunky soup copycat. This is the beef pot roast. I had never really seen this one before. It's definitely not one we've tried, so I figured we'd grab a couple to try. It was pretty inexpensive compared to the chunky soups. That's a meal ready to eat, basically. You don't need to cook it or add water. You would just heat it. And if you couldn't heat it, you could eat this right out of the can in an emergency if you didn't have fuel and you didn't have a way to cook or heat. This is another soup. This is a Campbell's Chunky. This was on the clearance rack. I always check the clearance rack for different items. It's a good way to add things to your prepper pantry for a little bit less money. This is a spicy chipotle chicken and corn chowder. I'm not sure why it was marked down, but I figured we'd give it a try. And then this is a white clam sauce. This is kind of an interesting thing. I do like this. I like to have this in the pantry. I'll throw this onto some low carb noodles sometimes. But this was Amazon. And with Amazon, if you use their subscribe and save to save money on what you buy, you need to have 5 items in each shipment to get the biggest discount. So I always like to make sure I have 5 items. And if I don't, have little cheap things that I would typically buy that I can throw on. And this was one of them. It was a good price for the single can. I typically buy things by the case, but I can add little things like this that are just a couple of dollars or $1 or $2. I'm not paying any more for them than I would just buying them at the grocery store, and I can help get my subscribe and save numbers where they need to be. And next I got some refried beans. There's a dozen cans here. This is not a single ingredient. There's actually other ingredients in these, a little bit of seasonings. I think of these as a single ingredient. I think of these as the same way I think of all my other canned beans. We store a lot of single ingredients when it comes to canned food. That's the vast majority of what we store. Things that we would use in making meals, not prepared foods like these. But I have a lot of all the other beans. And when I went down to get a can of these the other day, I realized I was a little bit short on these. So I figured I'd grab a dozen cans to make sure we had plenty. I have some recipes that use these and some things. I also have instant refried beans. I really like those for times that I just need a little bit of refried beans and I wouldn't use a whole can. That way I don't have the leftover that's going to get moldy in the fridge, just like I talked about with other things. But if I have a recipe that calls for a whole can of refried beans, I'd rather just open a can rather than have to measure out and figure out how much of my instant refried bean flakes would equal 1 can. So this is easier for a recipe. I did make a burrito casserole the other day that needed a can of refried beans, and that's when I noticed I was short. Speaking of being short on things and knowing what you have, as you start building a prepper pantry or before you get too deep into the process, if you're not already, I do recommend coming up with a way to inventory what you have and keep track of what you have. That's a lot easier to do when you start from the beginning. If you wait until you've got years and years worth of food storage like we did, or decades even, it's really hard to do. So we do have a couple of systems that we use, and parts of our food storage are pretty well cataloged, but the rest of it, not so much. It's hard to catch up if you don't start right away. Next, I was restocking our drink mixes. These are mostly a single serve, the little packets that go into a bottle of water, or the drops that can go into a bottle of water. Now, it's important to have things like this in your prepper pantry if you're a person who might get tired of drinking plain water, or if you don't like plain water. Even if you do like plain water, when water has been stored or it's been treated perhaps with bleach or with a water preserver or something, it sometimes doesn't taste that great. You can oxygenate it if it's just the fact that it's been stored. Sometimes aerating it by pouring it back and forth between a couple of different containers can help get some of the air back into it, make it taste a little bit better. But it's nice to have things like this to add to it if you need it. In my family, I love plain water, and pretty much everyone in the family does enjoy drinking plain water, but we do sometimes use things like these. And you can also get them with a little bit of added benefits, whether it's electrolytes or caffeine or vitamins and things like that. So what I got here, I've got 5 of these squirt liquid ones. These you just squirt into your water bottle. Now, the reason I have 5 of these, I do like to buy things in bulk, but typically when I'm restocking these, I would buy like 1 of every different flavor, so we'd have a variety. But for some reason, when I went and looked on Walmart, they were out of every single liquid one except for this one. And these are the energy ones in particular, because Mr. Wicked Prepared always likes to have a little bit of energy, drink to get him through the afternoon. And he's taken to using these as opposed to bottled energy drinks. This is less expensive. And in an emergency, you really might need to have some caffeine and some energy for a lot of different reasons. If you had to be on the go, just needed something to keep you going, or if you were taking shifts, staying up, trying to, keep watch or protect your property, there might be a lot of reasons you would want some energy, and something like this would be easier to do than a coffee or a tea or a heated beverage, especially if you were on the go. So for something like your bug out bag. So I've got 5 of these. I was just concerned that maybe they were not going to carry them anymore, which is another thing that prepping can do for you. Prepping can kind of get you by if they stop carrying something that you really love. It won't get you by forever if they never bring it back, but at least you'll have it for a little while. We've had that happen several times when something was discontinued that we really loved, and we were able to get through another year or 2 before we ran out. And then I have the powder packets. So I've got a bunch of energy ones. This is cherry, strawberry, pomegranate lemonade. This is a plain, just a sweet tea, just for flavor. But there's a dragon fruit energy and a watermelon limeade energy. And then there's this one, which I thought was really cool. I found this. It's interesting because it has some flavors I've never heard of. Well, kiwi lime is one. Vanilla, that's something I've never seen before. Lavender, never seen that. And dragon fruit. So I bought a few boxes of this, mostly for the kids to try. Not so much, I don't know if I'll drink these. I'm not really into this kind of thing, but the kids like it. And in an emergency, like I mentioned, all those reasons, it could be good to have. This is one that I found in the clearance aisle, and I did get this more for myself to try. It is supposed to give you focus and energy and mental clarity, which I always need help with. And that's a really good price, from $15 down to $2. So always check your discount aisle, your clearance aisle. I've got this, which this was a little bit more expensive, but I saw this and I had to try it. It's horchata flavor, which is like a cinnamon rice milk kind of drink. Now, when it's traditional, I really, really enjoy it. I don't know if I'll like it in a little stick pack or not, but I thought I'd give it a try one time. This one does have extra electrolytes and immunity boosting properties. And then I've got a couple more here. This is cherry. This, I believe, is the big packs that make a whole maybe 2-quart pitcher. I think that when I bought this, I thought I was getting the little packets, but we'll still use these. We still use them. We just didn't really need them right now. And then this is the individual packets, and this is the Great Values version of a popular one right now. It's got mermaid, unicorn, peach ring, and cotton candy. I did want to mention when I was looking for these and they were out of stock, I also saw some new flavors that they have in clear drops that wouldn't have the artificial coloring in them. So I'm wondering if they're making a move to discontinue the ones that have the artificial colorings and move to more natural uncolored versions, which would be really nice, because that is one negative thing about these. I'm sure you can find brands that don't have the artificial coloring, but I'm sure most of these do. Next, I got a few medical items. This I just picked up because it was once again on the clearance aisle, down from $15 to $2. This is a test kit that can test for things like yeast infections. So I thought this would be handy to have, especially for emergency situations where the hospital and the doctor might not be available. We like to keep things on hand that we can use to self-diagnose and treat if it's absolutely necessary. This one right here is acidophilus. So this is tablets in here, and this is a probiotic. So this is something that you can take to help with your digestion, help with your gut health, help with your immunity. It helps with a lot of things. So this is something we like to keep on hand because we know that digestion and immunity are two things that you really need to boost up as much as you can if you're in an emergency situation and you're not having your normal everyday food and lifestyle. And then this is 2 more bottles that were just on the clearance aisle, antacids, chewable antacids. We do use these. So I figured if I could pick up a name brand for a cheap price, I might as well do it. And then I found these. So this is just Kraft mac and cheese, but there is a ranch flavor. Now in my last haul, I had this jalapeno flavor, which was new, and I was excited to try that. I found the ranch flavor, and I actually just found another flavor, which is barbecue, smoky barbecue, I think. And I have that one on order, so it's going to be coming. I can't wait to give these a taste and see how they are. Macaroni and cheese is such a classic, typical prepper pantry item. You do need to make sure that you can account for the butter and milk that's needed to prepare it, that you either have shelf-stable butter and milk or an alternative to those. Somebody gave a good tip on my last haul about using some of the drained off macaroni cooking water to stand in for some of the butter and milk, which is a great tip. I actually also found, if you can see it, the jalapeno and the ranch is back there in these single-serve microwave cups. I mostly got these so that we could try out the flavors without having to make a whole box. These are microwave cups, so they're not necessarily super emergency friendly, but you can totally, if you have a small little pot, you could totally prepare this in a pot instead of the microwave. I don't know how it would work just pouring hot water into the cup, but somebody probably knows that. Somebody can answer that for us. But you could do it with a pot, and the good thing about these is they do not require milk and butter to be made. So I think if you're a single person prepping, having a really teeny little pot for cooking up things like this would be a really important thing to have. Next, here I've got some Celtic sea salt. This was on sale at Azure Standard, so I grabbed a bag. This is a really good salt to have. It's natural. It has all of the minerals from the ocean. It's very, very tasty. So this is a great salt to have. So when I see things like this on sale, I will pick up some more. You can never have too much salt in your prepper pantry. It's actually recommended to have about 7 to 8 pounds of salt per person for a 1-year supply. This is some more things from Azure Standard. So I've got a couple of rices here that are a little bit different. So this is red rice. You can see it in there. And this is black rice, also known as forbidden rice. And these are highly, highly regarded because they are much more nutritious than plain white rice. Rice is a very common prepper pantry item. It is a really good sort of food stretcher and belly filler, and it's extremely inexpensive. These, of course, are more expensive. They're organic and they're fancier, but they have a lot more health benefits and a lot more nutrition. These were on sale at Azure Standard, probably for the month of May. So if you're watching this in the first few days, it's probably still on sale, all of the things that I'm going to show you. So I will put a link down below so you can go and check it out. The thing with Azure Standard is they do drops. So you may only have a drop once a month in your area, but if you add something into your cart while it's on sale, then even if it processes after the sale ends, you're still going to get the sale price. In fact, I've started using that. I will buy something that's on sale, and if it's something I'm not familiar with, like if it's something I know that I want and I like this, I don't mind buying as much as I can afford. But if it's something new that I'm trying for the first time, I'll just buy a little bit or buy one, because Azure Standard, like a lot of places, you can get a better deal if you buy in bulk. So you can buy 1 bag of rice, small bag, or you can buy a box of multiple bags, or you can buy a large bag. And you can save more the more you buy. But I will buy a small amount of something I haven't tried, and then I will, after I've checked out and my order has processed, I'll go add it back into my cart while it's still on sale. And that way, when I get the item, if I like it, I can order a lot more. And if not, I can just remove it from my cart. With this one, I got one bag of the red rice, and I got several of the forbidden rice. You can see the rest back there. And I did that because the nutritional benefits on the forbidden rice are, I think, even better. But go check out for yourself what it says about each of these rices. Then I got a bag of Ceylon cinnamon. This is also from Azure Standard. This is just a different type of cinnamon. I did a video recently on the 10 most important spices for preppers, and cinnamon is one of them. And part of the reason is it has lots of health and medicinal benefits, as well as being a commonly used seasoning. But Ceylon cinnamon is better for, especially for the medical and health prospects of it, because it is lower in coumarin, and so it's very it's much better, especially if you're taking it in like health doses. Back here I've got this box of cocoa. This is a new product. It says Hershey's has these candy shop cocos. This is the cookies and cream. They also had peppermint patty and peanut butter cup, but for some reason those were quite a bit more expensive than this one. I think the prices are changing a lot depending on the seller. So if you go looking for that, keep an eye on the price. And if it's too much, then maybe wait and come back and see if the price has dropped. I'm hoping to catch the other ones on a lower price. But we love cocoa in this house, and it's really important to have some warm, comforting beverages in your prepper pantry that all you have to do is heat up some water, and then you can have a warm and comforting drink. It doesn't have to be cookies and cream cocoa. It can be regular cocoa, but I find that we like to try a little bit of variety, and I always like to try something new and mix it up a little bit. Over here, I've got some various condiments that are mostly new to me. So this is an artichoke bruschetta, which is like a creamy artichoke spread. I love artichokes. It's probably my favorite food, one of my favorite foods in the whole planet. And this is a new product. This Better Goods is Walmart's fancy new brand. I think it's trying to be like maybe like Whole Foods or like Trader Joe's. So this would be really good spread on bread or even with crackers and cheese. But I think this could be a good ingredient in a shelf-stable meal as well. I think you could maybe mix this small jar with a jar of Alfredo sauce maybe and use it to layer in a white lasagna. That's just one thing I've thought of that I thought would be really tasty, but I'm excited to try this. This is another in that Better Goods brand, a sriracha aioli, which is kind of like a flavored mayonnaise in a way. This is going to be a little bit spicy, but it looks really tasty. There's another one like this, which is a garlic parmesan aioli. And this one looks really good. I'm really excited to try this. We got a Suvie recently, which is like a cooking robot machine. And you can get their meals and it will cook them for you. And we've been trying some of those to find our favorites. And one of them had a side dish that was broccoli, and it said it had a garlic parmesan aioli was the sauce. And that was the most delicious dish I have had in a long time. So I haven't seen it on their menu again. So I'm trying to find a sauce like that. So I'm hoping this one will be like it. If you've been looking at the Suvie and you're on the fence, I highly recommend it. We've really been enjoying ours. It's definitely not a prepping related item because it's an electrical appliance, but for everyday life, it's a really, really neat appliance. I do have a discount for my viewers for $100 off of a Suvie. So if you're interested in purchasing one, or if you're even just interested in checking it out to see what they are, send me a text that says Suvie and I will respond back and get your email from you. And then I'll send you an email that you can use to get $100 off. This is a Better Than marinade. So it's the same brand that makes the Better Than bouillon, but this is a Better Than marinade. I think this is new. This was a deal on Ibotta. So I got a deal on this through Ibotta. I'll put a link for Ibotta down below. If you haven't used it, I have saved thousands of dollars with that app over the years. It's really awesome. But this sounded really good, lemon and garlic butter. So I thought this would be something that I wouldn't mind trying. As a marinade, it probably could be used as a sauce and a flavoring as well. And then a few mayonnaises. Now, obviously, mayonnaise is not new to me, but these are small containers. And what I like to have these for is, just like I liked having these smaller packets of barbecue sauce to use in my meals in a bag, if I have a meal that needs a certain amount of mayonnaise and I need it to be shelf stable and not have leftovers, I will sometimes use these. Like, it's usually a pasta salad because this This is 8 ounces, so this is a cup of mayonnaise meant for recipes that use a cup of mayonnaise. This one is 5.75 ounces, so it's a little more than half a cup, but I feel like with the amount that usually sticks to the inside of the tube, you'd probably end up with about a half a cup out of this. So these are going to be really handy for me in making meals in a bag. Or if you're going camping or something and you want to have a smaller amount of mayonnaise for your cooler or your camper fridge or something, or you want to be able to mix up a pasta salad and not have a huge jar of half empty mayonnaise left. Another option, of course, are these that I get at the Dollar Tree, which is another 8-ounce bottle of mayonnaise. So it's a little bit less expensive, but the problem with the Dollar Tree ones is, at least at my Dollar Tree, they tend to be pretty close to their expiration. These are going to last longer. And when I say expiration, I know those are best by dates. I know it will last a good while longer than that, but it's not going to last forever. So the further out you can get the dates, the longer it's going to last. This is a little Korean barbecue flavored fried rice, little ready to eat meal in a bowl. So this is already, it's meant for the microwave, but like all of the other things like this, you could throw it in a pan and heat it up, or you could eat it without heating if you were in a dire emergency and you didn't have a way to heat it or cook it. This is already cooked. It's just sealed up and cold. This looks good. I wanted to give it a try. Mr. Wicked Prepared loves rice, so I think he might like it. This has 360 calories in this pretty small bowl, so I think this would be a really good emergency meal, something to stash in your bug out bag maybe, or your vehicle. You just have to watch the expiration on these because they're usually not as far off as some other things, but as long as you're swapping your things out every 6 months to a year, it should usually be fine. You also have to watch that it doesn't get punctured or, really, really squished, in that it could pop open the seal. And then I found these. This is another new item. I've been trying a lot of new items lately just to see new flavors of things we can have in the pantry. These are not the most nutritious thing. They're a ramen dish. These are meant for the microwave. I know you could take them out and put them in a pan. I believe somebody in one of my last hauls mentioned that they have done these with their Keurig, I believe. I can't remember who that was that said that, but you could certainly take it out and do it in a pan if you needed to, if you didn't have electricity. So this is a chili cheese flavor. I just thought it sounded interesting and different, and I thought we would give it a try and see if anybody likes it. Like I said, we like to mix it up. You don't want to be getting food fatigue in an emergency, or even when it's not an emergency. It's fun to have some different options. A little more on the condiment side or seasonings. This is a Fiesta Ranch dip mix. It's not spicy like a spicy ranch. It's just a little bit of a different flavor. I have a recipe that uses this. It's a pasta salad recipe. It's tasty, and this mix is hard for me to find where I live. My Walmart doesn't have it. I have to order it, and I have to keep an eye on the prices. So this was a 12-pack that I got to make sure I have plenty on hand whenever I want this. It could be used for a lot of different things. Anywhere you would need a ranch mix, it would just give a little bit of a different flavor, or use it to mix up dressing. You can mix it into the flour mixture that you put on some fried chicken or anything like that. You can mix it into breadings. So this is a really good item to have on hand. And then this is a new item, another Better Goods. This is a bacon flavored sea salt. It's actually organic. And I found this when I was looking for different bacon flavored items for meals in a bag. So we're going to give this one a try. And next I have some pasta items, lots of different pasta items, including some ramen, which I guess you can consider that pasta. Pasta is a great thing to have in your prepper pantry. At least as far as I'm concerned. If your family's not a pasta family, then maybe you don't want to store as much pasta. But I think it's great. It cooks up quickly. Most people like it, at least in my household. It tends to be pretty cheap, although I have a couple less cheap options up here today. And if you can learn to do a one-pot pasta dish where you don't have to drain off any water, it doesn't waste your water either. So this is a creamy jalapeno bacon artisan crafted macaroni and cheese. This is the type with the pouch where the cheese is already like Velveeta, like mixed up like a liquid instead of a powder. So the benefit to this type of macaroni and cheeses is that you don't need the milk and butter. You just need what's in the box and the water to cook it. A drawback is that they don't last as long as the ones with the powder packet. And my family doesn't tend to enjoy them as much, but some of these different flavored ones we like better. So that's why I'm going to give this one a try. We will try different things. If we like it, we can stock up on on a lot more. But this could be great for an emergency, and you could throw some canned or freeze-dried veggies and some canned or freeze-dried meat into it to make it a complete meal in an emergency, complete one-pot meal. But even in your everyday, sometimes you just want a really quick side dish to serve alongside of something, and you can grab one of these, whip it up. That way we're keeping it rotated, making sure it does not sit there and get old, just like everything else. So this is a ramen that I had to try because it just popped up and I'd never seen it before. Garlic and clam flavor. I love seafood. I love clams. I love garlic. I love ramen. I try not to eat it very often because it's unhealthy, and I do a low carb diet for the most part. I do have a low carb ramen that I eat, and what I will sometimes do is take the seasoning packet from one of these and use that with my low carb ramen and let my kids use just the noodles and do something different with it. Next, I got these bags of lobster pasta. These are so cute. This company, Pastabilities, I became familiar with them back when my kids used to do fundraisers, and this was a fundraiser they would sometimes do. And this company has so many different shapes of pastas. They're so cute. They have them for every holiday, every sport. They have them for so many different things, different seasons. They're a little bit expensive because they are a fundraiser item. Now, I recently discovered that they sell this on Amazon. It's still expensive. I don't know anybody who's doing a fundraiser like this, or I would have bought through them. But I found this lobster pasta, and since we live in Maine, I kind of had to have this one. Obviously, I wouldn't stock too much of my pasta with this expensive, fancy pasta, but sometimes just for a special occasion, I think it would be nice to make a pasta salad or some sort of pasta dish with these shaped pastas. And then behind here, I have some Better Goods pasta. These are shapes that they have in the Better Goods, which are a little bit more expensive than the regular Great Value, but the Great Value doesn't have these shapes. Like these Radiatore, I used to buy this in regular Great Value, and they no longer carry it. So now I have to get it in this brand to get this shape, which I have certain dishes that I am stuck on having a certain shape of pasta for, but obviously that's not really necessary. Now back here, I have some of these baskets. I'm going to go around and show you these. So these are plastic baskets. You can see they are long and narrow. These ones, they actually sell them in a lot of different shapes, but I mostly buy these long, narrow ones. I use them when I organize my pantry because they are great for things like this, for pouches. If I have a lot of pouches, like mashed potato pouches or rice pouches, or even just ramens and things like that, I can put them into these baskets and slide the basket onto the shelf. And then, because the packets don't necessarily sit so well on the shelf, and if I need to pull them out to put the newest ones at the back, it's kind of more of a pain in the butt if they're all on the shelf individually. So I use these for my pantry. I've used them in the past for things like my kids' chapter book series when they were younger and reading, little kid chapter books. These were great for those. So I have a bunch of them that I use, and I'm always adding a few more whenever I have more to organize. So I got a set of, I think, 6 that I ordered. Right next to them is one more kind of bin that I use, these narrow multi-purpose bins. And these are a similar idea, except they are a little bit bigger and a little bit deeper. And they just hold a little bit different items. And I do have other bins like this that I use that are wider. So these are 5 inches wide. The other ones, I don't know if they're 10 inches or if they're not quite double, but they are bigger bins, and I use them to hold bulkier things and maybe more things. I do have a couple sets of those on the way as well, but they just didn't arrive in time. So maybe you'll see those in a future haul. Then I've got a few more things over here. These are little packets of bread and butter pickles. So these are like individual snack packs. I bought these once a while ago, and they were labeled on the Amazon page as keto friendly, which was why I got them. And when I got them, I looked at them, and they do have like 9 grams of carbs. So I would not consider these to be keto friendly. So I was a little bit upset, but Mr. Wicked Prepared found them and started eating them and loved them and ate them all. And so I decided to buy some more. I have a couple of kiddos who also like pickles like this. These are great for lunches, but they're also, it's a good idea to have some single servings of different snacks for emergencies when it's something like this that you might not have, you don't want to have a whole open jar of pickles that you might feel like you want to put in the refrigerator if the power's out. So this is a big multi-pack of these, and we will go through them. Next, I have a bunch more milks from Dollar Tree. You can see I've got quite a few back there. I think I've got 4 or 5 of each of these. These are the ones that we use, the whole milk. Now, this is a liquid milk, and it is shelf stable. It's real milk. It's really an awesome item to have on hand, and it's an awesome item to buy at Dollar Tree because it's cheaper than anywhere else. This is not going to have as long of a shelf life as the instant milk in the cans that I showed you. So these have a shelf life of about a year. They'll last a little while longer than their dates, but they're not going to last forever. They do get chunky after a while. They are good to have on hand. You don't need water, so they're already ready to go. We just make sure that we cycle through these faster than we do with our instant milk powder. Chocolate is good for the kids because this is already mixed up chocolate milk, same price as the white milk. My kids do like this, so when they want chocolate milk, I don't even buy chocolate milk anymore or make it with powder or anything. We just use these if they want chocolate milk. One other thing to keep in mind when it comes to this shelf-stable liquid milk versus the instant milk powder is that these are, once they're opened, they need to be refrigerated. So if you have a big family and you can use a whole quart of milk at once, or if you have a recipe, I've used these in recipes for my meals in a bag where you can use the whole quart. You can get this type of milk in single serving cartons sometimes. I haven't found that at my Dollar Tree, but sometimes you can get them at the regular grocery store. They're just quite a bit more expensive. So the good thing with the instant milk powder is that you can mix up as little as you need at one time and use it all up and not have anything to refrigerate. Next, I got a few more seasonings that I missed over here. This is authentic garlic butter barbecue and grilling seasoning. I just heard really good things about this seasoning. I saw it somewhere. I can't even remember where, but I wanted to give it a try. It sounded really good. This is a big container. And then this is another one that I heard about somewhere. Somebody mentioned this Jane's Crazy Mixed Up Salt and Seasoning Marinade and Rub. It's an all-purpose seasoning blend, which is a really good item to have in your prepper pantry because you can use it for a lot of different things. So this is a new one that I'm going to be trying. And then last but not least, I've got a few jugs of bleach. So these are gallon jugs of bleach. I got this at Tractor Supply. I found in my travels that the bleach at Tractor Supply is cheaper than the bleach at Walmart. And this is a disinfecting bleach. It will kill bacteria, viruses. You can sanitize water with this. It's important to keep in mind with liquid bleach, there's a actually relatively short shelf life of about 6 to 9 months. It's about 9 months, but I just try to keep mine down to 6 months. So I will mark the date that I purchased the bleach and then I put it away at the back of my rotation. So when I go to pull this out to use it, when it's the next one in line, if this date is more than 6 months away from where I am at that moment, then I know that I have overstocked my bleach because I try to keep about 6 months on hand at any given time. I did get 2 gallons of that bleach to restock. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I truly appreciate it, and I appreciate all your kind comments and checking in. Be sure to let me know how things are going in your neck of the woods. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, leave me a basket emoji in the comments below and check out this video that I promised you next about some of the many things you can do with instant milk powder besides drink it. I'm Jara with Wicked Prepared. Survive today, thrive tomorrow. We'll see you next time.